go ahead and, all right. So hello, everybody. This is, welcome to MVP Office Hours. Right now you have Joy and Squire on the line, ready to help you out and connect everyone with their issues. We are going to start recording. Squire, you've got that going?
Yep, we're all set.
Yep. All right, so we're recording. Today is February 7th, 2020. You can connect with any of us on Twitter. You can see our Twitter handle on the slides. And you can also follow us on MVP Office Hours .info, and you can follow us on Twitter at MVP Office Hours also. Really an opportunity to bring people together and solve problems together, right? So we have some events coming up that are also listed on a slide that you can see. There's the customer success event calendar, trailhead events, and then the upcoming Dreamin' events that you can see. We've got Snow Forest coming up later this month, Albanian Dreamin', then we've got Banff Dreamin', Ski Forest, London's Calling, and then Southeast Dreamin' at the end of March. If there's other events that you're aware of, we would love to hear about it. You can plug them into the chat. We can talk about them. But be sure to connect with the Trailblazer group, so that we can connect additionally also. Do you have anything to add, Squire?
No, I think it's just, as always, our message is that we're all on this together, and it's not just for the MVPs in the line to help. We all want to be helping each other, and so if you've got a viewpoint, a solution, some questions, please don't hesitate to throw your hand up or just pipe in, and let's help each other out. So.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. To reiterate, the calls are usually on the first and the third Friday. Our next call is February 21st. This is an open Q&A session. Everybody is encouraged to participate, share your experience, input, recommendations, references. Don't forget to mute yourself, especially if you have a dog in the house or if you've got noisy coworkers who are having a birthday party next to you. If you need to ask a question, you can raise your hand in the chat or unmute yourself. Please announce yourself and introduce yourself to us. While you think everyone might know who you are, we might not. And then make sure that if you are going to share your screen, you're sharing a developer org and not your production org, because this session is being recorded and we don't necessarily want to expose any sensitive data. So with that being said, let's see, do we have any hands up?
Right before you start, don't forget about the automation hour presentation.
Oh, you're so right. Okay, so one more thing. Jen Lee is hosting an automation hour with David Litton actually right after this call, and I'm going to put the RSVP link in our chat window. But if you're interested in advanced use cases for visual flow, this is going to be a great way to get some additional information on that from David and Jennifer. So I'm going to put that in the chat as soon as I can function with the chat, and then we'll go from there. So does anyone have any questions to start us off today?
Yeah, it looks like I got a couple hands up already, actually quite a few. Why don't we start with Christy Kane? Are you on?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
We sure can. Go ahead.
Great. Okay, so we went live last week, and we have Einstein Activity Cloud, and there are some people where their emails seem to be syncing, but not the calendar events. It's not sending any event from Salesforce over to Microsoft Outlook 365, and I didn't know if you had any magic.
And just a quick clarification on that, because I don't actually know for sure. Is the syncing happening because of your Outlook configuration, or is it because of next best action through Einstein?
I know I mean, we have Einstein Activity Cloud, and then the people have set their settings to connect their Office 365 account on their personal settings, because I made a training video on that. But they keep saying, some people, not everybody, that's the weird part. Hey, when I make an event in Salesforce and it's not showing up on my Outlook calendar, and mine works because I tried it myself when I made the videos. And then some people are also saying when they invite attendees on their event that they're making in Salesforce, the attendees are not receiving that. And since I'm not in any way any kind of Microsoft Office 365 expert, I don't know.
Any activity capture users out there that might be able to help?
So I used Einstein Einstein Sales Cloud for a short period of time, and it was a little bit janky at the time, and we had some issues with the two-way syncing, and you might want to work with like Salesforce support about some of your settings, or your success manager on that, to make sure that you're not I guess overwriting what's going on. And there's best practices around like scheduling, because if they're scheduling events, I'm racking my brain because this was like a year ago or more, and I haven't had my hands on it in quite some time. But that when they're scheduling the events, like scheduling the events in Outlook, instead of scheduling the events in Salesforce, but that kind of defeats the purpose. And so one of my former employers struggled with the way that was working. And so I think it's really important to go back to the documentation and really reread how it's set up and how your team is using it, to make sure that you understand like the flow of information, because you have that sync also that could be throwing up some blockades for you.
Yeah, if it was all across the board, definitely. But I will reach out to Salesforce support. I just figured I was calling you guys. And I have one more really quick question. It's probably really easy, totally different topic. When I do mass transfer, transfer accounts, the opportunities of that same owner go with it, or I can check off the other ones as well. If it comes in from another system, like our mainframe, do opportunity ownership update with account ownership?
I'm not aware. I believe the mass transfer relies on the opportunity to account native relationship. I think same relationship that allows it to roll up, and you can view them even if they're not directly connected to the contacts. I believe that is kind of some of the underlying gear work that you're seeing because of the transfer versus otherwise. Again, I'll throw that out to the crowd.
Yeah, because we've got ownership that changes, and it's from the mainframe, so it kind of comes in overnight from, and I didn't know, since we just went live last week, does the opportunity stay in the old owner's name? But I just figured you guys might know that if you've dealt with integration stuff.
Sure. I mean, usually in integration, you're driving the field update from the integration side. Anything that would be happening in the platform after that record's generated would be something that you'd be able to see, I hope, depending on how it's been written. It could be part of the Apex class, or if it's a call out and doing some sort of transformation before the load. There's a lot of potential question marks, but just out of the box, simply updating the opportunity through any sort of data load doesn't automatically update any of the related records, or vice versa.
Okay, no, perfect. That answers my question. Thank you guys so much.
Going back to your earlier question, one other thing to think about, and I don't know if it has anything to do with like how you rolled out, but there are ways to exclude addresses and sequences of addresses from syncing purposes. So if you want to do like a soft rollout, there's an excluded address configuration in Activity Capture Setup. Any chance that things got added there by mistake?
Well, I found out in my reading that the email address of the admin is already excluded. So the at yrcw.com, right? The weirdest part, and this could be it, but we have to get with the InfoSec people on that side, is we rolled up 5 different Salesforces into one. So NewPen, Holland, and they kept their old weird email, even though they're on YRCW now. And so that could be it, but I just thought, what the heck, it's worth asking the smart people.
Yeah, if you've got multiple email domains, there could be all kinds of unusual things going on. Those contact records tend to have a primary email and a bunch of aliases. And the syncing, the way I understand it, relies upon the primary email of the account, the Outlook Exchange account. So you might have a situation where it looks like it should be syncing, but the Outlook contact, or not contact, but user record might be tricking you. So you can dive into each one of those and see if there's other aliases. It might be indicative of what you're seeing.
Yeah, and that was the alias part that I probably were waiting on InfoSec. I just figured if there was any other way besides waiting on some other part of the company, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Of course, and always, you'll hear this again and again and again. But if you are able to solve the problem either because of something you find or someone reaching out to you, please post it in the success community so that we can learn from your experience.
Oh, great! Great idea. I haven't been doing that, so.
Thank you.
I'd love to see how this shakes out.
Okay, I am writing this down right now because at some point we will solve it. And we're working with Wave 6 and a certified technical architect, and he's back from his vacation trip next week. So I'm going to ask him.
Excellent. All right. Are there any other questions? Oh, we got a couple hands up. Did you see who went up first, Swear?
I lost track. Let's just go top to bottom. So Anu, are you on?
Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hello, hi everybody. My name is Anu. I'm a system administrator. I have a very quick question. I'm not sure if there's an answer to it, but I'm trying to change maybe hundreds of reports with a certain field. So I was thinking if there's a quick way to identify, a particular custom field, or actually a standard field, and like what kind of reports and where is it being used, and if there's a way to change it quickly, because I have to go like through maybe 400, 500 reports on certain objects.
So you're just trying to change reports to replace a field?
Yes, an existing field with an existing standard field with a custom field.
I don't think there's a programmatic or systematic shortcut to this. Squire, stop me dead in my tracks if I'm wrong. However, if you have Premier support, this sounds exactly like something that you would farm out to them.
Oh, okay, great.
Especially because if you can explain it like, here's my list of 100 reports that has this field, it needs to be replaced with this new field. This is exactly the type of thing that you can give specific instructions to and farm out to Premier support if that's something you have. If you don't have Premier support, standard Salesforce support is not going to help you here.
Okay.
But it's like if you have the Premier support where they do the admin assist sort of stuff. So otherwise, this sounds like a very tedious process.
Yeah. How about, is there a quick way to actually find out? I mean, right now, I don't even know what reports is the field being used at. So is there a way? I know there's a function called where is this used field function, but it doesn't apply to standard fields.
So
this is Jackie. This sounds like a really good project for elements.cloud, and you can get like a 14-day trial to find out where those fields are used, and you should be able to generate a list of those reports. I would investigate elements.cloud.
Elements.cloud, okay. I think
yeah, specifically it's their Catalyst product.
Gotcha, okay.
And they'll give you a full inventory, and it's exportable.
And it applies to all standard fields too, right?
Yep, standard and custom, everything in your org.
Oh, great. Okay, I'll definitely give it a try.
Consider it a documentation tool so that you don't have to manually go through and connect all the dots. It'll do it for you.
Okay. Okay, great. definitely give it a try. Thank you.
Hi, Jackie. How are you?
I'm fabulous. I love to hear your voices.
I'm
Thanks,
glad you're
Jackie.
on.
That was fantastic.
No problem.
All right, so we've got Christy. Christy, are you ready to chat?
There's more than one Christy, so.
Oh, Christy Acosta, you had your hand up.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello?
If this is
Okay,
Christy
great.
Acosta, yes.
This is Christy Acosta. Great. All right, so I need some help with Flow. I need to change. Okay, so basically I've got a parent record, which is the person account, and then several custom child records. And on each child record, there's a number field, and the one with the highest number gets to be the one that updates two text fields on the parent record. So I know I cannot do this with a process, right? And I have to do it through Flow. But I'm stuck where I was able to create on the parent record a roll-up field because it's a master detail relationship that relates the two. And it will identify the custom record with the highest numeric number by giving me the highest numeric number. But I'm stuck in Flow with, like, can I use a decision to be able to use that criteria where I find the child custom object with that numeric field equaling that that's been surfaced as the max numeric field on the parent record. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Sorry, I want to ask you to clarify something. So the child records are a master detail relationship to the parent that you're rolling through, or is it just a lookup?
It's a master detail. Yeah, so that's why I was able to create a roll-up field on the parent account that will identify for me the max value.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured that I could use that piece of information to match up in my Flow when I'm at the decision step. But,
Sure.
Because I can get all my records for the client, for that particular custom object for that parent that belongs to that account, you know, and then I would launch it with a process builder. But I'm stuck with, do I have to, like, maybe I don't quite understand. How do you create do I have to create a variable to be
Sure.
able for it to look through each record? Do I have to loop? I'm not really clear on where I have to go next.
Yeah, there's a lot of answers. I have one other question before we dive into it. So why isn't the max value of that number just utilized instead of updating another field? I mean, if you're able to see the max value of the children on the parent, why isn't that field the field that you're referencing? Just in general, like you wouldn't have to update anything on the parent. It would always display the max.
Oh no, because that criteria of the max value. Okay. So on each child record, there are two text fields that will be the source of the two text fields on the parent record. So they need to match.
I see. So like the max
I have
value
a
on the
picture.
child drives pulling two other fields into the parent.
Yeah, which will decide who gets to. Yeah, could I? All right.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
how do I do that?
So you should, Joy, you just passed access off, I think. Uh-oh, did we lose Joy?
I just released it. I was muted.
Oh, sorry, that's great. So you should see a share button right in the middle of the screen.
Of me, okay. Yeah.
Yep, so you go ahead and click that and then just make sure you're sharing the screen that you intend to, and then you should be able to bring that right up.
I think that's, oh, let me see. This is the one. Oh, not that one. Hold on one second. Oh, yeah, might as well. Oh, wait, let me just do this one instead. This is better share. There, do you see that in Paint?
We do.
So that's the parent record. Those are my two fields I need to update. And whichever the winner of the child records is the one with the highest numeric field, number field.
Got it.
So this is where I thought that I could, go ahead.
I was going to say, so I want to make sure. So I think if you won't be able to reference, unless I'm mistaken, the roll-up field in a flow to say find the record that matches this, because that's a runtime value. So you do have to do a loop of records to get the children, and then find the max from there. Now, I have not done something along that line, but we have a lot of really smart people on. Has anybody done this sort of thing where you pull the one record that equals the max of values to then iterate through? Uh-oh.
Maybe should I attend the next one? Should I attend the one with Dave Litton? Just kidding.
That one's gonna be a little bit higher level. I don't think this is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call this like an expert level flow at all. But you.
Yeah, no, I understand that. That's why I'm asking for help.
Yeah. So I mean, I think you're on the right path here. So and how does this kick off? Is this going to be scheduled, or is this something? Does something trigger?
Yeah, I do want it. I do want it to be scheduled and not through an event. So I figured that I could use a process builder to launch it and then schedule it through the time function or whatever.
Well, now
or
that we
I
have
could also look auto launch flow. Yeah. Should I use? I created an auto launched flow, but I thought I would either kick it off with a process builder that looked for when the text fields in the parent record didn't match anything. But see, then again, it only works cleanly if there's only one child record, right?
Well, so yeah, I mean, I have a lot of questions about just make the error handling alone, but very generically speaking, scheduled or time-based process, probably a scheduled flow is the best way to do this, just because it would be completely independent of anything else. But you would probably do something like, give me, I'm going to make this up. Please don't take this as the requirements, but something along the line of like for every firm, or excuse me, from every account that I have in the system, and how many do we have?
Of the person accounts, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, how many are we talking about? Because you might bump into a limit there too, but you might say something like,
right.
Right. So you might have, to say, give me every parent. Then for each one, you're going to do a loop and get the child records, and then do an assessment to see which one is the max. And you could probably do something along the line of, has this been updated in the last 24 hours? Because if it hasn't, then maybe you could exclude that update.
Okay.
Then as you loop through, then you say, is this the max? And then for each one of those, then for the parent record you're on, you would create a collection of records that you're going to update. Then you do one update at the end. So it's a really, I'll say intuitive, but only because it's intuitive to me, so I apologize, way to cycle through the parents and the children to generate one update that writes back to the parent. But I would be really concerned about relying on a flow if you're not entirely sure how big that parent record collection is or how many child records you have to iterate through, because you might hit limits.
Oh yeah, because it sounds very heavy unless I batched it. Okay, like did it in batches.
Ooh, that's a good call, Adi.
Hey, can you guys see this declarator roll up? There is a free help available. I think it is
the one by
unmanaged package.
Yeah, Fawcett, right?
Try this.
Yep, Andrew Fawcett's tool is great.
Yeah. Yeah, then I could do.
Go ahead.
Well, the thing is, I can identify the max, but it's just how do I tell Salesforce to act on that one? Do you know what I mean? Right. Or, are you saying putting that on the child record than the parent record? Putting the max info on the child record rather than the parent record?
No, you wouldn't have to do that. Adi, I mean, obviously you've got some experience with this. How would you write the trigger so it knows which fields to update based on a different field value? So it's not updating for the max value, it's finding the record that is the max value and using different fields.
Hi guys, this is Adi. I'm a technical architect and hardcore developer too. I actually developed our own custom rollups inside there so that we can roll up any field to any field in the system. No of this automated code like that. But through Process Builder, it will be hard because it may hit the bulk fight and all the problems like these kind of things comes when it comes to different records. again, it back to the, depending on the requirement is if these child records are adding on the time based, which means like, hey, when the child record 3 got come into that, I want to create it, then automatically go and update the parent record. Then it is a sequential logic, which means like, okay, when the first record is created, it goes and updates the parent record and saying that I am the child 1. When the second record is created, okay, here is the name and text field 1 and text field 2 from the latest into the, like keeping the latest value from the child record into the parent object.
Well, that's the thing. We don't necessarily want the last modified. We want the one with the number field the greatest. So the child record
who
that is
creates that
going to
number
update
field?
the parent record should only have the number field that is the highest amount.
Yeah, how it determines that the highest number from the child, like, child 1, 2, 3 based on what's created, or based
No,
on
not
some
when
other.
it's created. I mean, I would do it every day, so it would be repeated. It'd be scheduled like you suggested, Squire. But
Okay, so
yeah,
every
so
day
once
is
a day.
scheduled to put the number. So child record 2 may have number 1, child record 3 may have number 2 as the highest number, and child record 1 may have the number 3 is the highest number. And then you'll pick the highest number child record and update it, right?
Yeah, that would be the source of the text field.
Yes. Whoever is updating that process, that highest number field on that, and in that highest number, you can put a checkbox on this child record to say, hey, this is the highest number record, and fire the trigger, fire the process on that checkbox, and then say, hey, this is the record which is really the record highest. Go and update the parent information.
Okay, so therefore I have to have like some kind of indication on the child record that will trigger.
On the child record saying that which one is the highest number one.
The highest one.
Or
okay,
you can do another way is like this is you just give the sequence number to these childs, whatever the sequence number 1, 2, 3, 4, but whatever the highest number, make sure you update it onto the parent first, saying, okay, I have 3 childs, I'm giving you 1, 2, 3, right? Then one of the 3 will match it to the one of the record. When that criteria got matched, that is your right child to update to the parent.
Yeah.
You understand that?
Jen brings up a good comment in the chat. You could just fire this. So we were talking about the bulk, or like, making sure that you don't overload it. You would only have to check. You'd only have to check when one of the children for a parent is updated, because that's the only time that number is ever going to be like reassessed. So similar to what Adi was saying, but rather than doing a batch or a bulk, you could just say child 3 got updated for this parent. Okay, for only this parent, do the work. Now you at least are within the confines of the limits that are going to be on Process Builder. The flow itself, or the process, or the code still might be a bit of a challenge to architect, but at least you'd be safe there. Stuart added in the chat that he has done this with the LRS before. It's possible to check the highest number. However, this is his own issues. Stuart, do you want to say more about that?
Oh, that means I'd have to unmute. Yeah, so okay. I'll give you the instance here. So at a fundraising nonprofit organization that had sustaining memberships, they asked, can we have something that checked all of our members and looked at all of their gifts over time and calculated which gift was the largest gift. Calculated which gift was the smallest gift. Calculated which gift was the X, they had different criteria. And then show those different gift numbers and dates on the account record, on a parent record.
Okay.
And so using that DLRS that you mentioned before, the Andy Fawcett's tool, it is possible to do that. You have to in the DLRS itself, you have to create those formulas. of the criteria in which it's going to check and pull those records out. And then you also have to tell it or create the automation in which it runs. So you have to tell it, is it going to run nightly? Is it going to run monthly? When is it going to do these checks to run that DLRS batch? With ours, because we had so many members, thank you, which is a good thing, it ran forever because it's constantly checking all of the records. So then you have to decide, well, how do we filter out which type of accounts, which type of opportunities is it checking for? Mm-hmm. And so when I say it has its own issues, as you build it, as you run it, you're going to find things of, oh, I didn't realize it does that. So you're going to have to make some business decisions, some technical decisions about what it is you're actually looking for, and how do you filter out the mass of data that you might possibly find.
Did you ever get it to only run because of changes on the records or when things didn't match?
No, I did not. So what maybe there's somebody that is more of a DLRS expert than I am, but what I found is it's all or none. I mean, you can filter out the data to say, only look at 2019 dated records, but when you run through the batch, it runs through all. You can't say only do this when certain records change. It's you are going to schedule it and have it just run on all the data of that type.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess I can play with that.
There's I think there's probably a dozen ways we could help you fix this, and none of them would be right and none of them would be wrong. But I think there is a little bit of discovery on your side, and we'd be happy, I think, to bring it back in 2 weeks and talk more.
Okay, sounds great.
But
Thanks for your help.
I will echo Stuart and Adi's comments that DLRS is a good tool and a very useful tool, and it's the friend to all admins. So even if you decide not to use it, knowing that it's there and knowing what it could do for you is a great exercise there.
Yeah, no, I used to work for a nonprofit also, and we used it then.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, no, I know the DLRS, but it didn't occur to me to use it this time. Okay, but thank you very much.
Of course.
Okay, bye.
So is it Cindy or Jen's turn? Let's go with Cindy. She's at the top of my list. No favoritism. Just Cindy, you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We sure can.
Okay. So I'm pretty new to Flow. I've done, all of the Trailhead stuff on it, but I've got a use case, and I think it would probably be good to share my screen because it's involved.
Okay. Hold on. Sorry.
That's okay.
All yours. Go ahead and click on the share screen.
Share. Okay. Can you see the flow?
Yes, we can see that.
Okay. So basically what it is we have an external tool that people have been doing this checklist on, and now we're bringing it into Salesforce. And pretty much what it is we get documents in. I work for a financial company. We get documents in, and so then somebody has to manually go through these documents and make sure the signatures are correct, that it's there, that type of thing. So pretty much the first screen is just a checklist saying, okay, these are the documents that I'm looking for. Are they there in the folder? Are they correct? So that's the first screen. Then I go and update the records based on what they checked. Then after that, I conditionally show only the fields that weren't checked, so that because if there's an issue with them, then it could be that we create this custom object called a reg9. So then I surface only these. So if there's ones that would create a reg9 to be issued, or a record to be created, then I'm asking for the notes for it. So basically, I've done all the screen part. Now I need to figure out, what do I do to get the information I've collected and create that record, the reg9 record. And I don't know if it's a decision with assignments or what the best kind of approach for this is.
This is great.
I've got a bunch of variables. And I'll be getting information also from another object, which once Spring 20 is put on my production org tonight, then it'll be easier to do the cross object, get the information from the cross object.
So at the end of the day, you're just creating a single record type, regardless of the path this goes down? Is that right? Okay.
Right. So I would
create... But because of the path, you have different variables going into different fields on that object.
I'm not sure if I...
Sorry. So would you go back to the flow really quick? Or the picture? So if you go across the custodian row, your end result is still a reg9 object, but different fields are going into different data is going to different fields. Is that what you were saying?
So I have to create a reg9 for each of these problem documents. So the information that it writes to that reg9 is going to be the same, except for what the type, like the document, and then the exception note. So in this case, I would take the ETF, the fact that it was an ETF document, and this exception note that gets put in. And then I would create a reg9 for that one. And then they would put in the notes for this one, and I would create a separate reg9 for this one, and so on.
Yep, okay. So I would assume that checklist, you're storing the true false variables in that checklist of items, so you know the additional fields that to put on that screen, right?
Correct.
So I believe that you could have decision points, well, let's see here. I want to make sure I speak to this correctly. You know, what you're going to really do is at the end, you're going to say, is checkbox 1 true or false? If it's true, create a record. And then you're going to check for 2, and then you're going to check for 3. But they're all different variables, so I don't think you can do a loop there. We got a big group here. Anybody can pipe in. It doesn't have to just be me rambling on the call. But it feels like you're going to.
You're doing great, Squire.
It feels like you're probably going to have to just have a decision point for every one of those variables that then feeds that record creation step. So you might end up with eight consequential record creation decision points. I can't envision, off the top of my head anyway, a better way to do that. Boy, I'm hoping somebody else has a better idea than that.
And could I take, because basically the only difference between these is what documents are required. So if I go to this first screen, you know, it's different. The reason I have 3 different screens is depending on what type of account is, different documents are required. That's why I couldn't do it into one screen.
Sure.
Could you have one decision point, though, that all of these screens go to? Or would you have to do a decision branch for each one of these?
You should be able to funnel them all back to the one decision point as long as the decision is not unique to the path, right? The connections all still blend, just like the finish screen does, right? If you, as you come down each one, if you come back to the decision point, as long as it's assessing all the variables that are applicable for however you got there, you should be able to do it there.
Yeah, because they're all the same amount of checkboxes. It's just which ones are required and which ones are optional. So, yeah, okay.
Does the screen that that you created that only shows the 3 windows in this example anyway? So that would be 4 or 5 or 6 windows depending on how many checkboxes you check, right?
Correct. Yeah, so this first screen is the whole list of documents, and then this next screen has component visibility. So if it's not checked on the first screen, then it displays. So I've got all the same checkboxes here, but it's conditionalized for as far as what happened in the first screen. And then the same thing here, only the text boxes appear for the one where it's checked on the previous one.
Yeah, it really does feel like a chain of decisions. And so you're basically just getting to the tail end of your screen entries. And then you have a decision that basically says, is that first checkbox checked? Yes or no? If yes, create a record and then go on to the next decision point. And if it's no, it just goes around it to the next decision point. Because you really are making a decision even though it feels like the same process, I think you're making 9 unique decisions. So you should probably think of it that way. But boy, it feels like there's probably a better way to do it. I'm hoping. Have you posted this anywhere? The Flow community is so great, and someone's probably dealt with something similar.
Yeah, I haven't, because I have, without really a lot. I mean, I feel like it's going to be a whole long explanation of what I'm trying to do.
I mean, I think it. I mean, I 100% hear you. I think it'd probably be worth 15 minutes of your time to say, could I summarize this in, a very short paragraph? Because I think you could. You didn't have to give as many details as much as kind of you boil it down to say, I have 9 checkboxes. Based on the checkboxes, I have a bunch of decision points or data collections. And then based on the checkboxes, I have to create a number of records. Is there a right way to do it? If you kind of take it kind of from the abstract and post it in the Flow success community, I guarantee someone has fixed this problem and would probably be able to point you right at it.
Okay.
I hope I say that with so much hope because it just feels like there's got to be a better way to do it. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks.
I did before you go. I thought I saw someone go off mute, like they wanted to add something. I just want to make sure I didn't talk over them. Anyone? All right. But and again, I'll say it again. If you come up with a solution that is elegant or kludgy or just a nightmare and you still want to share it, please do. We can't wait to see what happens.
Okay, thanks.
Too bad. I think that leads to Jen.
Yes.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
You sure can.
Okay. So mine should be really easy. I have certain fields in the account that if a user has read-only access, I don't want them to see that field on the layout and in reporting. But if I have read-write, I want them to be able to see that field. What's your recommendation on how to achieve that? I have something in mind already, but I'm trying to make sure I'm going down the right path.
So they have read-only access, but you do not want them to see it?
Yes, that field in the object, in the account object. But if they have read-write, then they should be able to see that field. we can't do it in the page layout because then they would see it in reports, and we don't want them to see it in reports either.
Is there a reason why you're giving them read access if you don't want them to see it?
Because we want them to see all accounts. We want users to see all accounts. We just don't want them to see sensitive information. If they're read only, then we want them to see the account but not the sensitive information. If they read write, that means they're managing that account, and so they should be able to see that sensitive information.
I would be interested to see where you went with it, because I think there's a couple of ways to do this, but where did you end up?
So we were gonna do a child object of the account called account detail, and then use account share, the share object for the account share, and then the child object. So if they have read, then they wouldn't be able to see the detail. But if they have read write on the account, then they would be able to see that detail object and the record.
So how are you defining read or read write? Is it through team assignment, or through is there what's the queue that
we have roles, we have role hierarchy, and we have team assignments. So multiple ways. So we would have to read on the read write, the account share object. We would have to read on that one, and then from there give them access to the detail, the account detail, using that one. It's painful, but.
Well, I think that replicating data to a child object just to generate visibility is not your best choice.
Yes.
So I'm thinking about this. If you wait 4 months, you could use field forms and conditional formatting to make it visible or not visible, but it probably doesn't help you today.
No, because even with the conditional formatting, they'd see it in reports.
Gotcha.
That was my first suggestion. Was well, with Lightning, we can customize that in Lightning.
Sure.
Then, well, no, they can see it in reports. I'm like, oh, okay.
Stuart, did you have something?
Yeah. Is there a reason why the roles that have that can't see those don't have a different profile? Could they have their own profile?
The profile
and then...
will give you access to the object and the fields, right? But they won't give you, profiles won't give you record level hide show. Profiles won't give you the record level cred. The roles will. But
no?
then if you have the roles, if you can see the record, then you can see all the fields in the record.
No, that's not
true. That's not true.
But at the profile, if I can see the record, if I can read write the record, I should be able to see that field. But if I have read on that record, I wouldn't be able to see that field. You can't do that with roles and profiles.
No, because you can control the page layouts per profile.
No, I know the page layout, but I can see it in reports.
So to circle back, so field level security won't work because what you're really saying is at the record level, sometimes you can see a field and sometimes you can't. Right.
Right. Depending on
based on right. And so you're granting. Yeah. So is there a way? And you said you're granting sharing which ways again?
So if I have read to the account, I shouldn't see that field.
Well, how are you granting read write then?
To that account. So that either through role hierarchy, through ownership, and through account team.
So you have, yeah. So it's not anything about the record specifically that's driving it, other than ownership of the record that's granting access.
Well, we're using account teams. We're also using role hierarchy.
Oh, you got, oh boy, wow.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have to look at the account share, and then from the account share, determine the access to the detail child based on the account share. I mean, if there was a way to do it, keeping it on my record, because I'm not really a fan of creating the child object. My first answer was actually no, we can't do it.
Are you on Lightning?
Not yet.
Are you on Lightning?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Lightning will give us, I know in the page layout, Lightning will give us a conditional, but then doesn't answer the report issue.
I only ask because I was thinking, you know, if what you're really talking about, I feel like this ends up being Visualforce or Lightning component driven because you have to assess the record sharing guides or rules in order to determine how to display data.
Yeah,
or
we
even
would
grant.
use Lightning components to display the data, but then we would have to put it in a child object, and
Maybe,
then use Lightning components to show that in the page layout.
Maybe we ask this a different way. Instead of asking what can't they have access to, maybe the question is what is the goal of what they need to see. So if those roles, those users don't get to see those fields, if they have read-only, what is the purpose of them having access to that account? What it is that you want them to see?
Because we want them to see which ones our clients are. We want everyone to know who our clients are.
But not be able to see
the
any
value of that client.
fields on that account.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hardest part is it's still gonna keep coming back to, I think we can display, but the report, if you have access to the record and the column, it's not gonna sometimes show it and sometimes not unless it's a formula. And now you're not really editing that field, right? Because you could have a formula say, do I have access to this? Obfuscate it. If I do have access, don't obfuscate it. But the field itself and that column is still always going to be available to you object-wide, not record-wide.
Is there any other way of solving that business problem of I want a list of my target accounts without using ownership or role hierarchy or whatever it is that we're using? Because it seems like that's where our problem is. So if there's another way of showing me a list of accounts and people that are assigned to them without having that might be a way to do it.
Using a report and yeah, it would only be through a report because we can't do list views and we can't do the search. If they do the search, then we would hide it from them. Is that what you're saying? So they would have to pull a report, run a report. They want to see which ones their clients on.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have an access to the records? If you are writing a report, they should have an access to these records.
They have read, yeah.
Okay, if you have an access to a records and you like to have conditionally show some fields to the users, and there is I don't know. Okay, there is an app on the App Exchange. You can look at LDRD, which is dynamic relations data lookups. That is basically, it let you choose any fields from any relation to any objects, what are the conditions you want, and it let you either edit or display.
What is that called? Dynamic?
I'm just going to paste the link so you guys can see it.
Take a look at this.
Yeah, this will be helping to any object you can link in the system to have any relational to bring from any fields, but you can condition it to say only when this criteria meet or when this user only or something like that. So it is basically conditional and relational and dynamic lookup.
It's different records. If it's in the same record, but at field level, it's
No, you can go to any record to the parent, or child. You can go anywhere in that path.
Yeah, but if it's in the same record, but it's a specific field in that
yes,
record?
you can do that also. It is within the object. You can just choose the fields, what are the fields you want, and put on a tab, and you can put a conditional display of the tab and then say show this tab only when this criteria meet.
Does it also hide it on report?
No, it doesn't control anything on the reports. If once that's the reason I ask. Is once you have the access to the user, they will see through report.
Yeah, that's what that was our big deal breaker, because we want it hidden in the report. It's
Yeah,
easy
then
to hide it in a page layout, but then on the report.
Yeah.
yeah, if you want to hide it from the reports, you should take the field visibility off, and you create a separate custom fields for them so that they can see those fields. Like what we did in our example, in our business model is like this. Every staff is they can see only their commission, not to see the other people's commissions. So what we did, we created a called staff commission percentage as me, which means we use the dollar user logic and then say, show me the commission staff as me as a column, as a separate column, as a formula column, so that they can see that data, not the original column.
Would a formula field work?
It absolutely would, with the exception that then no one would, if you need to be able to edit the field that you want to be able to see, you'd still have to be able to see the original, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, because you could. Let's pretend that they never had to edit that column, that field that sometimes they can and sometimes they can't. Then you could obfuscate that to say managers, and then have a formula that says, "Am I supposed to be able to see this? Yes or no?" And then display it or not display it and report it. But at the end of the day, if they need to be able to edit that field, then they're going to have to be able to.
We're not letting them edit. We're populating it on the back end.
So the field, even though it's a read write on the account, the field itself is not editable by them.
Yes.
Okay, so that changes things a little bit, because you could absolutely do it that way. You could put the field, make the field available to the people who are supposed to be able to edit it via profile, and then have a formula that displays that field secondarily to the rest of the world. And then you'd have to, there's still some magic involved with trying to figure out, am I supposed to be able to see the field, and then handle that in a formula? But I think that's an easier path. Is that kind of what you were talking about? Was that Adi that was speaking earlier?
Yeah, that's right. See, once you give the permission to the field, like a formula field, all they can see. But if they want to edit as well as controlling from the report, it is not. That's why I'm saying it's not possible through controlling the report once they have the edit permissions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So it sounds like it's gonna require you to have a secondary field, just so that you can discriminate what you're supposed to see when you see that column. And then you should be able to use references to sharing, or even to who this user is, to be able to have a formula generate the output.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's not an easy answer, but I think you're on the right track if you separate the needs. So Stuart was kind of mentioning that earlier, that understanding why and what they're supposed to see might help drive what you're trying to get at. So.
Yeah.
All right. This is such a good conversation. I wish we could go longer, but we are at 2:00. I know a lot of people wanted to get on Jen's call, and it's been a good hour. Thank you, everyone. Jen, Joy, are you still there?
I'm still here. Thank you to everybody. This was fantastic.
We really, really appreciate all of your attending and your words and your questions and your support. We're all in this together, and we will see everyone in 2 weeks. Joy, anything else?
No, that's it. I hope you guys have a great Friday, and good luck with your troubles and your challenges, and we can't wait to see how they're resolved. Please share the solutions with us.
Absolutely. All right. Bye.
All right. Bye, everybody.